Thank you, Masha. Thank you, Korea Foundation, for inviting me and my colleagues here to participate in this really important occasion. And like many of you, that I'm a beneficiary of the Korean Curators Workshop as well, as those are really fond memories. And today, though, I'd like to talk about is the topic of developing curatorial expertise, presenting Korean art in the United States. But I will most likely focus on our own museum as a case study, but also bringing to a few observations across our field. Here you are looking at the front facade of the Asian Art Museum, and you may notice that we have banners of the famous iconography of the Korean Chosun Dynasty, the Sun and the Moon screen with the 5 peaks. That's because at the Asian Art Museum, we recently opened a major new exhibition titled In Grand Style, Celebrations in Korean Art During the Chosun Dynasty. The show will be on until January the 12th, 2014. It is the first major U.S. exhibition to explore the colorful ceremonies of the Chosun Dynasty, comprising more than 111 objects, many of which have never been traveled outside Korea. This morning, my colleague Tim Robert mentioned the Philadelphia Museum, along with 2 other U.S. museums, will present a comprehensive survey of the Korean art during the Chosun Dynasty period. And in our show, that we have a different approach, that we focus on a topical subject, that is the court rituals, court celebrations. And that is very timely because our museum is celebrating its 10th anniversary in this new location in the Civic Center of the city of San Francisco. So it is very appropriate that we present a major Korean art exhibition on the theme of celebration. And this is a view for the exhibition, the first galleries in the In Grand Style Celebrations in Korean Art exhibition. Once again, that it's on view until January, so I hope many of you, if not all of you, will come to San Francisco to see it. And I'd like to begin my presentation also with a verse from the famous poetry anthology called The Songs of Flying Dragons. I believe it is a 15th century Chosun Dynasty anthology that is sponsored by King Sejong the Great. And it's also the first Korean anthology of poems written in Hangul. I quote, "The tree whose roots are deep is firm amidst winds. Its flowers are good, its fruits are abundant," end quote. The verse tells us that deep roots yield abundant fruit. And so for Korean art and culture to flourish in the United States, it is important that strong roots be put down. This is what the Asian Art Museum and its partners and colleagues have sought to do, with the significant help of the Korean Foundation. To this point, we have cultivated the ground and planted the seeds, if you will, and we are beginning to see the fruits of our efforts. But more remains to be done. Thanks to the donation of an extraordinary collection of Asian art by Chicago industrialist Avery Brundage, the Asian Art Museum opened its door to the public in 1966. Mr. Brundage collected actively in Korean art, especially Korean ceramics, which made up 69% of all of his Korean holdings and included many exceptional objects. He was really very well known for collecting ahead of time. When many other collectors did not pay sufficient time to Korean art, he was one of the few who did. Stoneware and celadons made up the largest portion of this ceramics collection, with whiteware not far behind, and the celadon ewer on your right is one of the 10 pieces that we lent to the National Museum of Korea last year for its exhibition of Korean art in overseas collections. Mr. Brundage also collected some bongchong and other objects, and besides ceramics, he seriously collected metal objects as well as some decorative works, paintings, and sculptures. Soon, the museum will celebrate its 50th anniversary. As we know, it was founded in 1966. Over the half-century, since Mr. Brundich's initial gift, other donations and purchases have added to the foundation he laid down. And today, the museum holds one of the best and the most comprehensive collections of Korean art outside Korea. The collection consists of more than 800 objects, ranging from sculpture, ceramics, paintings, textiles, and metalwork, spanning 500 BCE to the present day. The collection is especially noted for its Goryeo dynasty celadons and the rare unglazed stoneware from the Three Kingdoms period and the Unified Shilla period. It also features a comprehensive grouping of paintings that range in style from courtly, scholarly, Buddhist, as well as folk paintings. The museum's interest in Korean art goes back to its early years. Besides the collection that we inherited from Mr. Brundage, in the 1970s, for example, the museum presented a major exhibition organized with the National Museum of Korea titled 5,000 Years of Korean Art. We are talking about comprehensive show. This is really one of the major comprehensive ones. In 1989, we were one of the first museums in the United States to have a gallery dedicated solely to Korean art. And for the first time in the history of the United States, we established a full-time curator dedicated to the arts and the culture of Korea and created a department of Korean art. As many of you know, Dr. Kwon-ja Pai Kim was our inaugural curator, and she worked in that position for 17 years. Under Dr. Kim's direction in that location, the Golden Gate Park location, the museum hosted some of the most spectacular exhibitions in its history, including the ones that are listed on the slide. So I'm not going to read all to you. During those years, the museum shared a facility with the DeYoung Museum in Golden Gate Park, but the space in the Golden Gate Park had severe limitations. No more than 12 to 15% of the museum's collection could be exhibited at any given time. Portions of the museum's permanent collections had to be constantly taken down and reinstalled in order to mount the temporary exhibitions. Space for educational activities was similarly limited. Potential seismic damages were also another concern, especially after the infamous 1989 earthquake called the Loma Prieta, which damaged the Asian's facility and some objects in its collection. In 2003, the museum moved to its current home in the San Francisco Civic Center. Our building was formerly the headquarters of San Francisco Public Library System. To serve as a museum, it required extensive retrofitting and repurposing. Once again, the museum's Korean connection stepped to the forefront as the Korean-American businessman Chung Mong Lee gave the largest grant to the museum and the New Asian Project. Without the support of Mr. Lee, the Asian Art Museum's dream of relocating from its old home in Golden Gate Park to its present location in the Civic Center would not have been made possible. His gift was a clear call to many other philanthropists to follow his lead in lending serious support to the project that materialized with the museum's opening in 2003 in its new location. We opened our museum in 2003 in its new location with an extraordinary exhibition of Korean art from the Goryeo dynasty titled Goryeo Dynasty, Koreans' Age of Enlightenment. And this is the first time an in-depth survey of the entire Goryeo dynasty was mounted in the United States. Drawing from more than 35 contributing institutions, it brought together many of the most exquisite works of Korean art from the 10th to the 14th century, including many that had never been traveled to the West. Reflecting a new emphasis on contemporary art, the exhibition was also accompanied by another show. Called Leaning Forward, Looking Back, 8 contemporary Korean artists presented in collaboration with the National Museum of Contemporary Art Korea. And it's a very interesting anecdote I'd like to share with you. You see the pack of dogs and the slides on the top. One of them is still buried in the Asian Art Museum. But I'll leave you to guess where it is next time you visit us. Both exhibitions were supported by exhibition catalogs. The Asian Art Museum has always accompanied its exhibitions and educational programming with a vigorous publication program. Our Korean-related publication includes the following. I'll just give you 1 second or two to go through the slide. Our inaugural curator, Dr. Kim Kum-ja, retired in 2006. Her final exhibition in the spring of that year was called From the Fire, Contemporary Korean Ceramics. Upon her retirement, the museum began a search for a new curator of Korean art. Chi-Young Kwang served in that capacity until May 2009. And Hyun-Jung Kim Han has served as curator and head of the department since July 2010. And Hyun-Jung is with us this afternoon as well. She has brought forward fresh energy and new perspectives to the position. Notably, in 2011, in the fall, Hyun-Jung presented an innovative exhibition that juxtaposed the traditional Bonchon ceramics against contemporary artworks called Poetry in Clay, Korean Bonchon ceramics from Ryum, Samsung Museum of Art. Since then, her effort was largely focused on in-grand style, which she has overseen from beginning to the conclusion, a large and multifaceted project indeed. As I mentioned, that in 1989, when Dr. Kum-ja Park-kim was hired, she was the only curator in the entire United States dedicated to Korean art. Today, there are 4 museums with such curators. Besides the Asian Art Museum, there are Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City, the Los Angeles County Museum of Art, and the Philadelphia Museum of Art. And I'd like to say that I both feeling extremely honored and a little bit guilty to hire our current curator, Hyun-Jung, away from LACMA, Los Angeles County Museum of Art. So I very much still owe my dear friend, Michael Govan, the director of the LACMA Museum, some good payback. But on the other hand, I'm delighted to learn that LACMA has just hired their new curator of Korean art. So that is wonderful, excellent progress. It is a good progress indeed, but still far too few, if I may say so. Why are there so few curators of Korean art in the United States? Because as a field, we're still putting down roots. When a museum has no specialist in Korean art, it is limited in what it can present. In practice, this often means accepting traveling exhibitions that originate at other institutions or organizing modest exhibitions on one's own. I felt this limitation in my own previous positions at the Seattle Art Museum and at the Art Institute of Chicago. But I was able to address it through attending workshops at the Korea Foundation. And not long after I became director of the Asian Art Museum, I attended an exhibition at the National Museum of Korea called Celebrating Events with Banquets and Ceremonies. And you're looking at the banners of that wonderful exhibition. Impressed by the exhibition's themes and the extraordinary works of art included, I resolved to bring the show to San Francisco. That was the first artistic decision I made as the director of the Asian Art Museum. But it is our curator, Hyun-Jung, who really reinvented the show and made it realized in the Asian Art Museum. So in collaboration with our sister organizations, such as the National Museum of Korea and the National Palace Museum, and under the leadership of our curator, Hyun Jung, we are now presenting in grand style celebrations in Korean art during the Chosun Dynasty. My experience shows that it is essential to have a dedicated specialist in Korean art. However, when it is not yet possible, other Asian art specialists should be trained to acquire competency in the field. Our museum has benefited from Korean government-supported scholarships and internships. Our curatorial assistant for Korean art, current one is Sylvia Hari Chan, is a Korean American who received an Overseas Korean Foundation scholarship to study in Korea for her master's thesis in Korean art history. Thanks to the scholarship, she was able to spend 1.5 years in Korea, where he attended the classes and volunteered at the University Museum. The scholarship provided an opportunity for her to adjust to social differences, improve her Korean language skills, and better understand the differences in academic and museum structures between Korea and the United States. In March 2012, the museum entered into an agreement with the Korea Foundation to inaugurate a Korea Foundation internship at the Asian Art Museum. The internship program was intended to provide an opportunity for a young scholar to experience firsthand how an American museum is organized and operates. It provides training not only as an art specialist, but also as a museum specialist. For the museum, it provides a talented helper who can serve as a bridge across cultures. Interns get an opportunity to experience firsthand the challenges faced in presenting Korean art in America. To be accepted into the internship program, a candidate must be a junior level professional from the Republic of Korea who has completed at least an MA degree and is committed to pursuing a museum career. The candidate must be fluent in written and spoken English. Under the supervision of the museum curator of Korean art, Hyun Jung Kim Han, the intern will learn about the Asian Art Museum of Korea collection, conducts in-depth research on 10 Korean masterpieces. We want to be very specific. Updates the museum's object files with new articles and findings, creates a 1 to 2 page report on each object study, and assists in preparation for special exhibitions, such as in grand style. Initially, actually, to be frank, we had some concerns about the internship program. For example, would it be too much time of our curator be consumed by the training? How difficult would it be for the intern to adjust to our museum and our community? And how much assistance can an intern really provide? So these are the questions, some questions we had to bear in mind, because we want to start out with a very clear-minded and realistic assessment of the advantages and potential challenges of such a program, so that if we decide to do, that we could do it in the best possible way. So today I'm very happy to report that our experience turned out to be an extremely positive one. The first intern accepted into the program was Nanjung Kim, a PhD candidate in the Department of Art and Art History at Stanford University. She had also studied at Seoul National University. Nanjung proved to be a particularly good fit because she came to us with an interest in Korean royal protocol, ulgui, the pictorial records of official rituals. And these were a prominent feature of our current exhibition in grand style. Thus, she already possessed a background that enabled her to take the lead in preparation for a substantive bibliography in both Korean and English for the exhibition catalog. As you can see here. This bibliography constitutes a significant contribution to advanced scholarship on the subject. Ms. Kim played an important role in facilitating Korea Foundation Korean Culture Day in 2012. She was able to work closely with the museum's educational program in order to expand beyond strictly curatorial concerns and gain a better understanding of how the museum's various departments work together in presenting an exhibition. She also received training in art handling. That's very important, the art handling from our museum's registration and conservation departments. She helped to draft the labels for object rotations, and she participated in installation of the objects. And the writing labels is a very interesting challenge because not only it needs to be based on serious scholarship, but also need to be written in a way that is easily accessible and enjoyable to the general public who may or may not have in-depth knowledge of Korean art, actually more often not than yes. Ms. Kim thus gained a comprehensive overview of American museum practices, which I'm sure will be valuable to her in her future career, as well as for the field of Korean art history. The museum also benefited greatly from her support. Her translation, research, and communication with Korea contributed significantly to the success of our exhibition and other activities. And as of today, we're ready to send out our offer letter to our second Korea Foundation intern, Ji-Hyung Lee, who has a BA in Korean art history from Seishun University and also an MA from UCLA in Korean studies. She will start on November the 12th, several days after my return, so I'm very much looking forward to welcoming her. When the new president of the Korean Foundation, Professor Yu, came to visit us for the opening of the Ingress Art exhibition, both interns had an opportunity to meet with him, and I believe that he was very pleased to have the opportunity to meet with the interns as well. These are very encouraging signs. And also, across the field, besides our own Ingress Art exhibition, the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City is now presenting an exhibition focusing on the Schiller dynasty. Next year, in March, I believe, the Philadelphia Art Museum, the Los Angeles County Museum of Art, and the Museum of Fine Arts, Houston, will present another show on the arts of the Joseon Dynasty, starting in Philadelphia. But for this good work to continue, we must do a lot more to train scholars and museum professionals. The Korea Foundation Museum Internship Program is a very positive step in this direction. Only in this way, as a poet of Songs of Flying Dragons instructs us, can we ensure the fruits of our work will be abundant. Indeed, it takes more than a village to make it happen. So let's all work together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Hsu, for that poetically framed presentation. I'd now like to invite back to the podium Dr. Lee-Seung Mi, Professor Emerita of Art History from the Academy of Korean Studies, who, as she promised this morning, will speak to us on the shaping of the Korean art